What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Dispatch one more time before the game releases tomorrow morning. We are getting very, very close, and it's unbelievable, honestly, how excited I am. I think all of us are to experience these last two episodes, and that's kind of where I want to start in this video. I also want to break down a couple moments in that teaser trailer and just kind of dissect it a little bit, talk about how I feel this season could end, if it would end on a cliffhanger, things like that. That's what we'll do throughout this video. But may I just first say that, like, this is why I think episodic gaming can work. And I really thought this was going to be a good game and a big game. I didn't expect it to be this good and this big, but I am so happy for it. And not just happy for it, because I really hope, while we're all asking for Dispatch Season 2, right? We just talked about that yesterday. I really hope this not just kicks Telltale in the rear end, okay? Because it needs to. It needs to, and Wolf Among Us 2 needs to freaking come out at this point, right? But really, I hope it's a wake-up call to the industry that I think largely, besides, Don't Nod has done it, I guess Square Enix has allowed Life is Strange to retain a little bit of it, the fact that they're episodic, but they actually all come out at once. True Colors and Double Exposure did that. But hopefully this can say to people, hey, this is, and because I know people were wondering, like, going into this, and I think this is something literally I had talked about a few days before Dispatch came out, or maybe after the first two episodes came out, which is like, does this game need to be episodic? I think you're seeing that it does. I really believe in just 2-3 weeks, the organic word of mouth has been unlike anything we've seen in a long time. And it really, to me, harkens back to The Walking Dead days and Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands. And I've always said, like, a personal big one that I participated in and I literally did see, so I remember it so vividly and I fully believe it was big, was Life is Strange, the first Life is Strange. The anticipation between episodes was one of the most special things, period, really. And I think it's a dying art, or it's an art that did die, almost completely, but I really think Dispatch brought it back. And it's something that this game will do. And look, the studio will go on to make the Critical Role game, and they might have to one up themselves and just do it again. Maybe nobody does learn the lesson, but I really hope that people, developers, publishers, look at this and say, okay, if we make just a killer game, a game that just rocks, right? And we have it done. The game's done. It's been done for weeks, right? Months maybe. And we're going to release it just one week at a time. Obviously in this case, 2 episodes, but we're going to release it like this. And as long as it's good and as long as it has this proper kind of momentum, it can do amazing things. And I think you're seeing it with the concurrent players always going up. Now look, I think the art style, I think the 2 females, Blonde Blazer and Invisigal, I think they have really blown up social media wise. That has obviously helped it. But I feel like every day I see a new Twitter account that posts like, okay, gonna jump into Dispatch, and then they'll do kind of like a meme post or something kind of like funny afterwards. And it has like 2 million views. It has like 100,000+ likes. I feel like I see it multiple times a day. And over the weeks, like, we didn't get this the first week. It was kind of an organic movement that I feel a part of, to be honest. I feel like, honestly, all of us are a part of it. That's just so freaking cool. Okay, so I just want to kind of throw it out there because I think they deserve so much credit, not just for making a great game that we constantly are talking about, but also for proving, I think, to people that say, well, why couldn't they have just released this all at once? I'm tired of waiting. And I do get it. Some people were waiting till all the episodes came out, but I really feel like it's been a magical 3 weeks. Like, if you've been around, you've been playing these episodes every time, and with these trailers and just with kind of natural discussion and just seeing word of mouth grow and grow and grow and grow, and excitement and anticipation for the next episodes grow and grow. It's something that you do not get if the game comes out, obviously, all at once, right? They're different things. Obviously, you can be successful either way, but I'm really proud of this game. If maybe that's not the right way of saying it. Really happy for this game, and can't wait to see what they do next. Okay, in terms of where this season leaves us, okay, now the trailer, one thing almost right away is actually a shot that very much, with Robert in the car with the rain dropping, very much resembles Wolf Among Us. I think that was honestly very purposeful, just to kind of throw that in there. I thought that was fun. And then, of course, the trailer itself, pretty short, and I think it's obviously trying to not give that much away, but I think you can tell right away that, and this is spoilers, okay, spoilers for everything up until episodes 7 and 8. I had predicted, my theory is that you'll be able to talk to Chase one more time. I'm starting to feel like that's not going to happen. I really think it's possible the episode just opens up maybe with that kind of taxi car ride thing that he's doing, very depressed, very saddened, right? And it kind of is a jump, from the ending of episode 6, the beginning of episode 7, it jumps ahead a little bit, right? And, it's something that he's already died. Maybe they got to talk, but maybe they didn't, and maybe there's a funeral, things like that. Because you see Blonde Blazer on the TV talking about the harbor situation in general, right? And talking about, I think Chase, right, where she says, like, him being able to put himself, like, on the line and to do what he did. And it cuts her off in terms of what she's actually saying, but I think she's giving, in parts, kind of like a recap speech of, like, what happened to, the general folk, but also, I think honoring Chase, in that moment. So, yeah, again, that's just something I want to throw out there, because my prediction was maybe in the beginning of episode 7, we get to talk to him one last time. It's possible by the time Robert gets there, he's already going to be dead. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. So you have that. You have a couple signs, as to that. And then you have, obviously, the team wanting to kick Invisigal out. We hear that, in the meeting. It looks like we're going to have one last dispatch mission, and seems pretty like in line with what we've seen before in terms of, because we even see him say, like, all right, well, let's get to work, right? So you're going to sit down, you're going to do the things. Now, I think what's going to happen this time, because oftentimes the story has bled into the gameplay, which I love the fact that they do that. Characters will sometimes react to you or to what's happened in the story, and they won't participate, or, something will happen gameplay-wise that reflects the story. But in this case, it feels like it's going to be a situation where you're overrun. There's a lot of crime on the screen. So when we're playing gameplay-wise, get ready, and I'm going to get ready, to fail a ton of different objectives. I'm going to fail every single one of them. So it feels like something like that is going to happen. And then, obviously, you have, like, the conversation, and Visigal even says, like, I don't expect to be forgiven. I think those are kind of conversations, those natural, just where they're all talking to each other as you're dispatching them. You'll hear, I imagine, them being very, very mad at her, and her kind of not even defending herself, kind of taking it. Now, I do wonder, I guess, to focus there, though, are we going to have the opportunity to kick her out or to not kick her out? Because that meeting, she's not at that meeting, right? When you hear them saying, like, we want her gone. So she's not there. Is that meeting before or after the dispatch? Because if it's before it, then obviously it doesn't matter if she's still in the, she's a character you can send out or whatever. Although maybe we'll see in terms of gameplay, maybe she won't be allowed to go out. Maybe if you put her with another character, the character will refuse to go with her. I think those are all really cool gameplay elements that you could, kind of filter through. So we'll see what the order of that specifically is. But then, of course, in terms of the very end of the trailer, kind of Shroud, whether attacking, or we see pretty much all of the Z team, in action, and a little bit of kind of Robert versus Shroud, I guess. I mean, he says Mecha Man, which does make me think maybe he'll be in the suit. He'll actually be able to get into the suit to take on Shroud. We'll see. I wonder if that's just like right after a dispatch. They've done that a few times, right? You'll be doing the gameplay elements, and then all of a sudden something will happen, and it springs into a cutscene. I mean, we see, like, Blonde Blazer flying through the office. We see her actually using her powers in a way we haven't seen it yet, right? Kind of unlocking her final evolution, which is pretty cool. But we also, I think, hear voice-wise in the background that, like, we need everybody, like, activate everybody. So I imagine maybe we'll be playing, we'll be sending people out, and then some event happens where, okay, it's go time. Everybody has to go and take on, this final task. So as to, what happens, I just made the video, about the Blonde Blazer thing. I really want there to be a snitch. I want there to be a traitor in the midst of everybody. We'll see if that ends up happening. And in terms of a cliffhanger and stuff, I will say I actually don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to leave it open enough to do a season 2. But, as I just talked about yesterday, the thing you have to remember is I think they always thought they could do a season 2, but it was never as pressured, as it is now. And I think that comes through with saying season finale instead of series finale. But I also think that's going to reflect in the game, because they made this game months or years ago, right? Like as time went on, they're not thinking, oh, okay, the game is going to blow up overnight and we're going to sell 1 million and they're going to be demanding we do season 2 next week. They're not thinking that, right, when they're making the game. So the ending of the game, I don't think is going to be a direct, like, all right, hold on to your butts because now you're going to have to wait, a year or two before you get season 2. Will they leave things open? Yeah, and I think with a superhero kind of angle to it, they could. You could honestly, if you wanted to do the spy thing, like you could take out Shroud and you could kind of introduce what's next. I mean, that's a kind of common superhero-like tactic, right? You take out Shroud, whether it's Blonde Blazer, whether it's somebody else, whoever, right? If there's another kind of villain, maybe like waiting in weights, kind of in the corner out there, maybe you introduce it very briefly, and that could be a character you kind of come back to for the next game. But I feel like it's going to end kind of with my happy ending for this season, and for just a happy version of this season would be you just are doing what you're doing. You're dispatching, you have fallen, because clearly it's gone away where he's doing it, but he's secretly, not even secretly, but like in his heart he wants to be Mecha Man. But really, what does Robert want to do? He wants to help, right? He wants to do what he can to help others. And I think as this game goes, he's still actually, as it has gone, he has figured this out, is that you don't necessarily need to be Mecha Man in order to make an impact. And I think that was a big part of really the last couple episodes. So I do wonder if maybe he doesn't even get the suit back at all in these last 2 episodes, and it kind of just ends with like a day in the job, right? Like it's a montage thing at the end of the episode 8, and he sits down, and like maybe the final shot is just him sitting down and saying, all right, let's get to work. And kind of happy, like he has bonded with this team and he's still sending them out on assignments, and they're doing their part as well as they can. That, I think it's a safe, and also it's just a feel good type ending that leaves it open because he's dispatching them, so anything can still happen to these characters. And I also think by doing it that way, you can, because I was thinking, all right, well, what about relationship wise? I do think that's going to come in as well, whether because like in Visigal versus Blonde Blazer, now like I've said, if one of them is evil, secretly evil, that's definitely going to mess with what I'm about to say, but say neither of them are evil. I think that just kind of filters into the ending I just pitched, right? You're sitting down and you're dating one of them. So you're sending Invisigal out, but you're dating her, and maybe you show a clip of those two maybe going to another movie together. Or if it's Blonde Blazer, he's dispatching everybody, and then, at night they go out on another date night and have food, stuff like that. So I feel like they can tie in the romantic interest. We'll see if it's like the most important thing humanly possible. I don't think it's going to be. I do wonder though. I do wonder, like, maybe a character will be kicked. I mean, because you can kind of go dark. Like maybe if you pick Blonde Blazer and Visigal, her end resolution is saying, hey, I just can't do this because I really do like you and I'm trying, but something is just off, and I'm trying to be a better person, but that's not working either. Maybe somebody leaves. The thing is, it's kind of hard for Blonde Blazer to leave, but maybe she does. Maybe she says, hey, Robert, I'm going to entrust this dispatching thing to you. You're going to take my job. I'm going to leave and go somewhere with somebody or whatever, and you can have like the head job of this dispatch team. So maybe that could happen. Again, maybe he can kind of just settle in a dispatcher role with Invisigal. Something along those lines is kind of how I feel this game is going to end. So very excited. I'll be playing it as quickly as I can, but it will be later in the day. And I will be doing a spoiler cast on the channel. I'll have a couple other videos. I kind of want to do maybe some character breakdowns as the days go. Maybe talk about Invisigal as the character, go over like the character arc these people have had. So I think that could be fun and a little bit different from what you would see other YouTubers do. Let me know what you think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.